despite under renewed hope agenda. Nigerian stock market gains 3.9 trillion in May despite global challenges. Expert explains why Africa's wealth remains trapped underground. Now, the details. FG to deliver 77,400 housing units nationwide under renewed hope agenda. The federal government has unveiled plans to deliver 77,400 social housing units across Nigeria as part of its renewed hope agenda aimed at reducing the country's housing deficit and improving access to affordable homes. The initiative also includes the development of renewed hope cities in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and each with 3,000 housing units alongside 250 unit estates in all 36 states of the Federation. This was disclosed by the Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, Yusuf Atta, in a recent statement outlining the ministry's housing strategy and its openness to external partnership. Our primary mandate is to provide mass housing for Nigeria, and we welcome collaboration with credible partners such as MS Ellen Lee and Partners International Investment Consulting Joint Company to achieve this, Atta said. He affirmed the government's commitment to addressing the housing crisis through large-scale investments and strategic partnership. Giving further details, the minister announced the social housing initiative will deliver 77,400 units, 100 homes in each of the country's 774 local government areas. Atta also emphasized that 30% of these homes will be allocated to the most vulnerable Nigerians. President Tinubu insisted on this allocation, maintaining it at 30% despite recommendations for a lower figure, he said. Addressing the visiting delegation led by Alain Kenam, Atta encouraged clear proposal for collaboration. We need a formal proposal indicating specific areas of partnership. Let us know where you want us to come in, he said. The delegation expressed strong interest in investing in Nigeria's housing sector, particularly in the area of affordable housing. Kenam requested land to support the proposed investment and highlighted the socio-economic benefit of the partnership for Nigerians. Nigerian stock market gains 3.9 trillion in May despite global challenges. Investors in the Nigerian stock market made a big profit of 3.966 trillion in May 2025, even with global trade tensions affecting markets around the world. The total value of stocks on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, known as market capitalization, rose from 66.496 trillion in May to 70.662 trillion naira in late May. The NGX All Share Index, which tracks overall market performance, also went up by 5.6%, moving from 105,800.62 points in April to 111,742.01 points at the end of May. Experts say this growth is due to stronger investor confidence and positive market sentiment. However, they also advise caution in future trading. During the last week of May, the market continued to rise, with the ASI gaining 2.5% and the market capitalization increasing by 1.7 trillion naira. So far in 2025, returns have gone up by 8.6%. Some major companies contributed to the gains. BUA Foods stock rose by 5.3%, MTN Nigeria by 3.7%, and Transcorp Hotels by 6.5%. while the number of shares traded dropped by 3.5% from the previous week. The total value of those trades increased by 59.6%. Most sectors performed well as consumers goods rose by 3.8%, insurance by 1.01%, banking by 0.7%, industrial goods by 0.3%. However, the oil and gas sector dropped by 2.1%. Analysts from Cordros Research said they expect the market to stay positive, but caution in the coming week as investors continue to watch global events and local economic news. They added that the recent market growth was driven by strong interest in reliable, large and mid-sized companies. Experts explain why Africa's wealth remains trapped underground. The president and CEO of the Regional Maritime Development Bank, RMD, Adeniran Aderodba, has called on African nations to tackle the deep-rooted structural and financial challenges limiting the growth of the continent's mining sector. Speaking during a high-level panel on mobilizing domestic capital for Africa mining sector at the Africa Development Bank annual meeting in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, Aderodba pointed out while African financial institutions are increasingly drawn to value-added industries like processing and manufacturing, the mining sector's upstream segment, where exploration and early-stage development occur, remains critically underfunded due to perceived risks. He identified 4 major obstacles that continue to undermine the sector's progress: a severe lack of early-stage capital, poor quality geological data, weak project development, and inadequate infrastructure. These, he said, are not just technical shortcomings, but deep structural weaknesses that limit Africa's global competitiveness and deter long-term investment. Africa's mineral wealth is not in question. The challenges lie in turning potential into productivity, Aderodba said. The shortage of early-stage capital is systemic. It discourages exploration, hampers geological mapping, and stalls project development. As long as these barriers persist, the true value of our resources will remain trapped underground, he said. Aderodba noted that the local financial institutions are often hesitant to fund early exploration due to high uncertainty and lack of risk mitigation tools. He urged African government and central bank to play a more active role in creating a supportive investment environment. He also proposed a range of innovative financing solutions such as mining bonds, mineral royalty securitization, and blended finance models that combine public and private funds to reduce investment risk. Strengthening public-private partnership and improving project preparation capacity were also highlighted as urgent priorities. Africa must not depend solely on foreign capital, Aderodba said. We need to build a robust domestic financial system that supports the entire mining value chain, from exploration to value addition. Finance ministries should introduce tax incentives, while central bank must foster investor-friendly monetary policy and guarantee framework. He concluded by stressing Africa's strategic importance in the global energy transition. The continent holds approximately 2/3 of global cobalt reserves, 30% of lithium, 20% of graphite, and over 30% of the world's manganese, all critical minerals for clean energy technologies. This places Africa not at the margins, but at the very center of the global energy transition, Aderodba said. Before I end the news, Here are the headlines once again. FG to deliver 77,400 housing units nationwide under renewed hope agenda. Nigerian stock market gains 3.9 trillion in May despite global challenges. Expert explains why Africa's wealth remain trapped underground. That ends the business and economic news. Now, dear listener out there, I would like you to be part of the conversation, and to do that, you have to call us by calling the studio lines 0916 893 1000, 0916 893 2000, and 0915 333 893. Would like you to join in the conversation by calling those lines. Well, I go straight into the analysis, but I would not want you to leave me there alone. There are three vital news items on the shelf. The first one being that FG to deliver 77,400 housing units nationwide under renewed hope agenda. Let's take a look at that. What do you feel about this? The news indicated that about 100 housing units to each of the 774 local government councils across the country. What would that mean? What would that translate to in addressing the need for affordable and decent shelter for Nigerians, especially the poor? There is a saying in Yoruba that God blessed the snail and built a mobile house for the snail. And God blessed the tortoise. He built him a shelter, a mobile shelter. So the tortoise and the snail would not need to look for a shelter to relax or to put its head while it is night, while it is too sunny, or while it is raining. But for human beings, the issue of shelter has remained a very, very critical issue, especially in developing Africa. Our government from one administration to the other would want to mount it that, okay, we are paying attention to the issue of shelter, to the issue of food production and food security. We are going to ensure that there are infrastructure. But the government is indicating that it is settling down for business here. The government of the Federation is poised to providing 77,400 housing units nationwide under the renewed hope agenda. And that, for me, is not a bad one. At least it's a starting point. What do you think about this? I would like you to join us in the studio by calling any of these three numbers: 0916 893 1000, 0916 893 2000, and 0915 333 893. Yes, but while I'm expecting your call, let us continue to discuss. Yes, let me continue the analysis rather. Yes, FG to deliver 77,400 housing units nationwide under renewed hope agenda. Let me give you a breakdown of the effect of housing shortages and the advantages of providing shelter for citizens with an example, at least one example of a country where shelter is being provided. Effect of housing shortages. Now, one of the effects of housing shortages in a country is rising rent and property prices. As we witness in Nigeria, we see that the rent, by my own investigation, because I'm also into that sector, I operate in that sector currently. Now, the rent on accommodation has risen so astronomically. A situation where you get a 4-bedroom flat in at least an average part of Ibadan, in an average estate, you get it for about 850,000 naira per annum, to between 850,000 naira per annum to 1 million naira. That is the situation. But before this administration, before now, let me say, I'm sorry to say that, before now, the past maybe 2.5 years, you can get a 4-bedroom flat apartment in Ibadan for about 550, 500, 600, depending on the area which you find it. But today, an average area where you find a 4-bedroom flat, you get it for between 850,000 naira and 1 million naira. And a self-contained, the total package, you get it for about 260, 280, 300,000 naira, depending on the area where you want it in Ibadan. Well, I know that for some areas you can get it as low as 180,000 thereabout. But then, one of the effects of housing shortages in an economy is rising rent, rent and property prices. Now, looking at what I just said now, the analysis I just gave of what the rent situation was about 2.5 years ago, and now, you will be able to tell whether the houses are surplus in Nigeria or not. Obviously, we have housing shortages. Okay, let us look at all the things that may come as an effect of shortages of houses or shelter in a country. Increased homelessness. That is another thing. That is another menace. Increased homelessness. You have a lot of people that street under the bridge, people that sleep by the roadside, people that sleep at car parks, motor garages, and all that. Well, in Lagos, just about a week ago, the state government indicated its readiness to fight conversion of on the bridges under the background of bridges into shelter. The Lagos State government is frowning on that we are not going to allow people to be sleeping or taking shelter under the bridges anymore. So in a situation like that, you have increased homelessness. You find that Mokola roundabout in Ibadan, at least I can say for Ibadan, when we are talking of your state, you find that these beggars, they've constituted an eyesore under the bridge, and the state government had made several attempts to relocate these beggars, yet you still have them. In about 3 days after they evacuated, you discover that they are back on the street. And in this kind of in this age and time, it is an eyesore, and it's not really cherry thing to discover that people still take abode on the bridges beside the road and public places, taking undue advantage, like school classrooms. Some people will take shelter there, they'll sleep over, and before the daybreak, they would get out of the environment so that they will not be constituting nuisance on the schools. Well, this is not really a good thing, and that is why that is one of the reasons why I feel the federal government sees the need to build about 774 houses in partnership with the private sector. Now, when you in a situation where you don't have where you have shortage of shelter, you have overcrowding. The few houses the number of houses that you have in a community is overcrowded, especially when you are talking of the urban centers where people troop into to take advantage of economic opportunities. You find that there is overcrowding. You find that there is competition in taking houses, and families may be forced to share small living spaces, leading to overcrowded homes that affect health and well-being of the citizens. Can you just imagine a situation where a family of 4 is managing a 2-room apartment? How are they going to manage that? But we still find that happening, courtesy of shortage of houses in our society. Now, another thing is that it causes poor health and hygiene because the facilities are overstressed. The toilets are overstressed. Maybe a toilet that is built for a room self-contained, you are expected to have just one person in the room self-contained, and you have 3 to 4 people in the room self-contained. That is overcrowded. The facilities that are there will be overstressed, and as a result of that, it contributes to physical and mental health issues, especially in informal settlement or slums. Okay. Next to that, we talk about social inequality. It promotes social inequality where you have the rich occupying a particular section of the city, while you have the poor that cannot really afford this high cost of rent. They would be residing in slums. They will be residing in shanties, even on the road. So you find that the slums you find them overcrowded, and the area for the rich, the high, and the mighty will be sparsely populated or moderately populated. Now, housing shortages widen the gap between the rich and the poor, as wealthier individuals can afford property while others struggle. Yes, the others will struggle. The leftover, they will pounce on the leftover like eagles. Oh no, or maybe like vultures. I like the vultures, the dead bodies. It will bring strain on infrastructure. In particular areas where you have overpopulation, the infrastructure could be vandalized, could be strained, could be overstressed. Like I said, okay, in a house that is meant for just one person, an apartment that is meant for just person, being occupied by 3 to 4 people, when you want to use the toilet, when you want to use the waste bin, when you want the usage of the drainage and all that, will be overstressed. It will cause strain on infrastructure. When people are pushed to the outskirts due to lack of central housing system, it puts pressure on transportation as well. It puts pressure on water and electricity system. And also it reduces productivity. It reduces productivity. If you don't rest well, you can hardly work well. If you have to squat in the corner of a room and you don't sleep well, you don't rest enough, so it becomes a problem, because at the end of the day, during the daytime, rather than have the energy to work through the hours, you doze off. You can start dozing off. It affects productivity and quality of life. It affects quality of life because you can't boast of your own privacy. You can't boast of your hygiene. You can't boast of safety of your properties. So as a result, you end up being vulnerable. that would not be good enough. So don't leave me to that. Call us, call the studio lines to contribute. How do you feel about the federal government's indication that 774,000 units of houses will be built across the country? And the breakdown is really, really relevant to us, because we understand that it is not going to be a situation where the houses per state will be crowded in the urban centers. It will be distributed based on local government, on the basis of local government by local government, and that, of course, will be better. That will be fair. It will make the very marginal development that will bring anyway to spread. It will assure us of being spread across the country. For me, that is a good one. And I say, federal government, you have started, and we would like you to conclude it. Yoruba will say, you have said it now, we've heard it now. People are expecting the delivery of the housing units, so don't betray us. Let's talk about, if you don't betray us, if we have these housing units across the local government councils, across the 774 local government councils in the country, it will improve our health as a people. It will improve the health of the people. There will be access to clean and safe housing, and it will reduce disease spread. It will improve mental health, and it will support family stability. There will not be a case. It will reduce the level at which the wife of Mr. A is taking bath in the bedroom, and the other person is knocking at the door, asking the woman or the man even to rush up because they are hurrying for work. So please, we are eager to have this to improve public health and to promote economic growth. Of course, that is going to promote economic growth. Housing construction creates jobs. Of course, by the time they are building these 774,000 houses across Nigeria, the bricklayers will get engaged. More bricklayers will get engaged across the local government councils. More carpenters will get engaged. Even the welders will get engaged. Those selling cement would have market will be promoted, and those making blocks would smile home because they will make more sales, and by that, the economy is getting promoted. The economy is getting promoted. Housing construction creates job. Job will be created. It will stimulate related industries like the block making industries. The sawmillers will be happy. Those into sales of iron rods and other things will be happy, and that would have chain effect on the economy. So we say kudos to the government, and now there will be social stability and security. If a jobless man has a job, he will be engaged. He would not need to look at funny ways of keeping soul and body together. At least there is a menial job somewhere at the construction site to work, and then there will be security, food security. He will be able to put food on his table. He will be able to have a clean shirt to wear and trousers, and then he will be able to secure a shelter for himself. Incidentally, we are talking of shelter provision as we at this time. Then, of course, there will be better educational outcome if the pupils are able to rest their head while sleeping. They are able to sleep for about 8 hours without having interruption of somebody kicking you on the head because people are crowded in a room. So a situation where you have better sleeping arrangement, you have better recreational arrangement, you have better place to read when you want to read. Of course, the students, they will be better for its children in stable homes perform better. Researchers say children that come from stable home, they perform better than children from the poor home because they relax better and their mental health is better, the hygiene is better, then the sleeping condition and other condition is better. They have a safer and quieter space to study. Now, if these housing units are provided, at least some people will be built out of dismal condition. Are you telling me that, okay, some people will take, some people that already have a house that are already in the rented apartment want to take advantage of better apartment to move into this newly built apartment? Yes, if they move into those newly built apartments where there will be vacancy for others to move into the houses that are currently being occupied now, and the story is going to be better. Yes. Now, it will reduce inequality. You know, we said that when there is lack of shelter, it would widen the gap between the rich and the poor. But in a situation where you have improved shelter arrangements, it will reduce inequality. Now, people who don't have a shelter will have a shelter. People who were sleeping by the roadside will be able to sleep in a room apartment, and people who are in a room apartment will be able to move to a better accommodation, and by there will be progression, there will be progress in the rate of things. Providing affordable housing helps bridge the gap between different social and income groups. And the last but not the least, it will bring stronger community and community ties. Oh, when you have good shelters in a community, it will build a stronger community, and it would strengthen the community ties. It will foster stable houses in the community. It will improve civic participation and social inclusion. Now, let us look at a country where the problem of shelter was an issue, but now they have scaled that ordeal. I will give Singapore as an example. Singapore is a global example of a country that successfully tackled housing shortages. Going down memory lanes in the 1960s, Singapore faced a severe housing crisis with overcrowded slums. Not anymore. The government launched the Housing and Development Board, HDB, to provide mass public housing. And today, over 80% of Singapore's population lives in flats, many of which are owned through affordable schemes. This has led to improved living standard, strong communities, and low crime rates, and a more equitable society in Singapore. Singapore's success shows how good housing policies can transform a country both socially and economically. Now, I want Nigeria and the Nigerian government to borrow a leaf from the Singaporean experience. Maybe our Minister for Housing should compare notes, look at the situation, study the actual history of the Singapore from 1960 to date, and see the way by which the system could be adopted in the Nigerian situation. Oh, that is that on that. I move on to the next news that was read. The caption of that news is Nigerian stock market gains 3.9 trillion in May despite global challenges. What do you think about this? Call in and give your own point. Yoruba people will say, ẹnìkan kì í jẹ́ àwádé, wọ́n ní a máa ń pé gbọ́n ni a kì í pé gọ̀. I can't be the island of knowledge here. Of course, I'm doing this analysis with some researches that I made, so it is not just my knowledge alone. But then, if you call in and tell us, give us your own angle, it will be an addition, and the more the merrier. We are lending ideas to one another, and we are also lending ideas to the policymakers, those in governance, those steering the ship of the nation. They are listening to us, and our advice will go a long way. Nigerian stock market gains 3.9 trillion naira in May despite global challenges. With this development, let's look at the advantages that it may bring to our economy if well annexed. Advantages of stock market gains in economy. One of the advantages is increased wealth for investors. Well, when the stock is rising, when investors have confidence and they put more money, it will increase the prospect of wealth of investors, because as you have a take-up point and the thing is growing well, more and more people will want to invest, and investors will have more money to participate in the space. When stock price rises, investors, including individuals, companies, and pension funds, see their wealth grow. This can lead to more consumer spending and investment. Then another thing is that it will boost consumer and business confidence. When the stock is rising, when the stock market gains, then it will boost consumer and business confidence. Because when a product is doing well in the market, people would have more trust. There will be more money to produce and to distribute, and it becomes popular. And then consumer and business confidence is built. A rising stock market often signals a strong economy, which can encourage people and businesses to spend more, invest, and take on new projects. Also, it brings easier access to capital for companies. It brings easier access for capital for companies. Companies can raise money more easily by issuing new shares when stock prices are high. This helps them to expand, to hire more staff, and to develop new products. Yes, this is an advantage. And another advantage is that there will be higher government revenue from taxes. Stock gains can lead to higher capital gains and taxes and income tax from investors, increasing government revenue. You also have stronger currency and international appeal. Your currency, when the stock is growing and businesses are doing fine and investors have greater confidence, it would make the currency, like we have the naira, it will make the naira to grow stronger. So if this growth, if this development, this positive development could be sustained in the stock growth, then it would help strengthen the naira. You know, incidentally, we have a situation where the naira dipped a bit again. This is not cherry. Our naira is our identity. It is our pride. We should seek to grow it, to develop it, and to make it more competitive. Not that the naira will be prostrating to other international currency. The currencies of other nations. We want a stronger naira. We want a better economy. We want a better package for the people of this country. We deserve the best, not just to live as if one is begging or one is a beggar. We want a strong and varied nation, a strong and varied country. We want a strong economy. We want a sane society. We want a good business and operational environment. A healthy stock market gives people confidence to invest in stocks for the long term, boosting savings and financial planning. Example of a country that enjoys such a benefit is the United States of America. The United States of America has benefited greatly from stock market growth, especially during long bull runs, periods of rising stock prices. For example, after the 2008 financial crisis, the United States stock market recovered and entered one of its longest bull markets between 2009 and 2020. That was a very good one. That is about 10 to 11 years. Oh, you have a bull run market for about 10, 11 years. That is a big boost for the economy. This growth boosted consumers' wealth, increased investment in tech and other sectors, and helped fuel overall economic expansion. It also supported job creation and innovation through access to capital for major companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. These gains contributed to the U.S. being one of the world's most resilient and innovative economies. And expert explains why Africa's wealth remains trapped underground. The experts explained the reason why Africa is at this level. We are rich in mineral resources. We are rich in both solid mineral resources and other natural endowments. Yet Africa is poor. Africa is bleeding from corruption. Africa is bleeding from underdevelopment. Africa is bleeding from bad leadership. Africa is bleeding from insecurity. Oh, but it must be a way forward. Let us look at some of the key factors that are responsible for Africa's economic woes, drawing from both historic and current realities. Poor governance and corruption. I said it before. Poor governance and corruption, they are monsters that are eating deep into the fabric of the African economy. There is widespread corruption across Africa, weak institutions, lack of transparency in government spending, hinder economic development. Some people will say that we don't know the total package that a senator is taking in Nigeria. We don't know the amount that the governor is taking in Nigeria. We don't know the amount this office holder is taking in Nigeria. The total package of a minister, we don't know. It breeds corruption. We have weak institutions and we have lack of transparency in government spending, hindering economic development. So, where Africa is bleeding, Africa's wealth is trapped underground, and one of the factors is poor governance and corruption. And also, of course, we have heavy dependence on primary commodities. Nigeria is one example where until now, an oil-producing nation or country, I don't like calling Nigeria a nation because we have about even over 100 nations making up Nigeria. Nigeria is a country. We have a country, Nigeria, where for a very long time we are oil rich. We produce the crude and we take it abroad to be refined. We import it back into the country and then we sell. What is the problem? Well, I think that question is not really too germane anymore regarding the crude production and crude exploration and refining of the crude, because we have the Dangote refinery here, we have the Port Harcourt and the Warri refinery here. Of course, we know what is happening to the Port Harcourt refinery at the moment is undergoing rejuvenation, and we do hope that within the set period it will be back upstream and it would be actively producing. Then it leads to we have inadequate infrastructure. Africa is sick. The wealth of Africa is underground. So why don't we excavate? Why don't we dig down and bring up the resources? The problem, we said, 1, corruption, 2, poor governance. We have heavy dependence on primary commodities. We export raw materials rather than processing or manufacturing and then exporting the end product. Rather than do that, we just sell our raw materials. They will process it and bring back to us and sell at exorbitant rate. This is not cherry. And we have a wide gap of youth across the landscape in Africa. And these youth, they can be exposed to tech, they can be exposed to science, and thereby everything will go well. Oh, my time is fast spent. It is on this note that I would like to call it a day on Business Diet this week. As we draw the curtain on this week's edition of Business Diet, I want to thank my producer, Tolu Aleke Ali. I give you big kudos for the support, and I also thank Engineer Lane. I want to say a big thank you to you for the technical support. And dear listener, my advice to you as we go in the week is that we take courage, we try to be optimistic, face each day of the week with optimism and courage, and everything will be fine. Until next week, Monday, when we meet again on a fresh edition of Business Diet, I remain your dear friend on radio, Akinwale Aboluwade. Cheers.
I'll be a superstar. Did you see me in the magazines? Tell me.